Right. What's good, y'all? I am the dating pool guy. I'm cleaning up the dating pool through reactions, through advice, etc., etc. Today we got an interesting one from K Drama Theater. Okay, bet. Kicked his cheating wife out of the house only to discover that her lover was his client. Oh, that's tough, bruh. Oh, that's tough. This is kind of a long one, so let's go ahead and jump right in. And I'll try not to pause it a bunch. I'll just like highlight certain things. Y'all know how I do it. All right, let's go.
After living in separate rooms for over a year, his wife suddenly told him she was pregnant. When he saw the test results, the man was utterly confused. Miu Kanza was a full-time housewife, often preparing snacks and meals at home to entertain her husband's colleagues who he brought home unexpectedly. Despite her efforts, her husband never thanked her and even scolded her when she accidentally broke a glass or got a colleague's surname wrong. Her best friend, having recovered from a divorce, invited her to celebrate the opening of her new store, which had been long planned. Miu Kanza wasn't envious. Instead, she was lost in thought about her friend's son. She didn't understand why her husband always looked disgusted before coming home, and why he'd say he didn't ask her to wait when he saw the meals she had prepared. Seeing her husband in a bad mood, Miu Kanza held back what she had prepared to say until the next morning when her husband felt unwell. She earnestly asked if he wanted to take a day off, but he impatiently said it was impossible and urged her to quickly say what she wanted to talk about the day before. Carefully, Miu Kanza said she would attend her friend's opening on Friday, but promised to be home by 5 p.m. She also mentioned that she was planning to have a child and had checked her basal body temperature to predict the best time for conception. Her husband's indifferent comment to let nature take its course deeply disappointed her. Her heartbreak escalated when, on her way to her friend's celebration, her husband called to say he forgot a document at home. Ignoring her plans, he demanded she bring it to him immediately and hung up. Miu Kanza hurried home, changed her clothes because she felt they were inappropriate, and rushed to his office. Just after greeting a colleague, her husband arrived, having already had a subordinate reprint the document. He complained about why she was late and criticized her for making his subordinate do extra work. As he left, he coldly commented on her needing to pay more attention to her appearance next time.
All right. Let me just say this real quick. I could just stop this video right now. I'm not gonna do that. But let me just say this real quick. I mean, I get it. I'm not gonna lie to you. This man is disrespectful. He doesn't notice anything his wife does. She's doing all this stuff for him. Going back to change, then rushing to the office to get you your paperwork, and you just had somebody else print it out. Then you complain that she was late, so you had to have somebody else print it out. What? Oh, nah. Now, I will say this though. Remember in a previous video, I talked about how there's two things that's making people be in these relationships that aren't good for them. One is no, man, I forgot what it was. No. Okay, two things that'll help you. There we go. Two things that'll help you navigate dating. One, listening. Two, acceptance. One, you listen to what they say, you listen to how they are, you listen to how they move, and that'll tell you, right, how they are. Just listen, let them talk, let them go forward, and just watch their actions. Then number two, accept how they are and say, I can't change this person. I already don't like this person off bat. I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like that. After that, don't let it go further because you know what you're in for. That thing can only grow unless it's like a drastic change. But most of the time, they're not going to change. That's who they are at their root. So, yes, that's what's going on here. Honestly, I mean, he's a jerk, man. He's bad. Like, he treats her terrible. So, never an excuse for cheating. But, yeah, you got to go. Yeah, don't. Whatever. All right, go ahead.
A disheartened Miu Kanza took the bus home, pondering when their relationship had become like this. At first, they loved and supported each other. They joked that they were a couple who cried easily. Now, only Miu Kanza cries alone. Lost in thought, she missed her bus stop. By chance, she ended up at her old school. Seeing the lively kids there briefly lifted her spirits. At the library, she unexpectedly met an old classmate, Ryou Fuyutsuki. It was their first meeting since graduation. Ryou Fuyutsuki, now a business owner and still single, chatted with her, not minding her married status. They lost track of time, nearly causing Miu Kanza to miss her evening bus. Before boarding, Ryou Fuyutsuki shared his plans to build a school in Africa. Seeing Miu Kanza before leaving was the best gift for him. This chance meeting could have been a perfect ending. The next day, Miu Kanza discussed having children with her husband. She explained she quit her job to prepare for pregnancy. Her husband thought she wanted a child because she was idle. Miu Kanza realized he wanted her to quit just to be a full-time housewife. Now, struggling with his salary, he took his frustrations out on her. Feeling lost, she inadvertently ran to the school library. Regaining her senses, she realized she shouldn't fantasize. As she was leaving, she saw Ryou Fuyutsuki talking to the librarian. Panicking, Miu Kanza felt she shouldn't have such thoughts and fled. Unexpectedly, Ryou Fuyutsuki saw her and chased after her, offering her childhood candy. Back then, when her family was poor, he taught her that eating candy was an excuse to cry. Just like now, Miu Kanza felt repressed but couldn't express it. Ryou Fuyutsuki invited her to help at his flea market, where she could showcase her talent for embroidering bookmarks. Her husband, seeing the poster by accident, pretended to be unaware and asked her if she was busy that day. Miu Kanza lied, saying she was free, and he didn't comment further, but he canceled his golf to follow her. From a distance, he saw Miu Kanza selling bookmarks and watching children with envy. He didn't confront her and simply walked away. After the event...
All right, real quick, let's see what he says after this. Because a lot of times when you're doing, like, you're treating somebody bad, you know, that action, or you're being treated bad, that action only continues until you change who you are. Until you say, you know what, I'm going to live my life. I'm not about to sacrifice my happiness. And not necessarily, like, I'm not talking about compromising, but this situation where, like, he doesn't care about her and he treats her any type of way. So she was like, I want to do some stuff for myself. Whenever that happens, the other person automatically starts getting suspicious. Why? Because they feel like they're not controlling you anymore. They're not holding you down anymore. So they're like, oh no, they're probably seeing somebody else. They're probably blah, blah, blah. But it shows how they really are. They're controlling and they're trying to keep you down, man. And I respect that. She's getting out of the house. You know what I'm saying? Now, the thoughts about the other guy, you know, that's pretty messed up. But I will say it happens, bro. It's natural. Like, when you see from both sides, like, you always see when somebody starts treating them well, you know what I'm saying? They start getting those feelings like, man, you know what? Like, this person's treating me better. They're not mean to me. They're not this is this. They slowly start drifting that way. Sorry, it happens.
Ryou Fuyutsuki bid farewell to Miu Kanza as he was leaving for Africa the next day. It was then that he revealed that she was his first love. After they parted, Miu Kanza couldn't help but cry. When she got home, her husband unexpectedly apologized, admitting he had been neglecting her. Despite her objections, he forced himself on her, and after a tumultuous night, he was still asleep while Miu Kanza caught the early bus to school. Sitting on a bench at school, looking lifeless, she was startled by a noise nearby. Approaching, she saw Ryou Fuyutsuki stealthily picking a lock. The two sneaked into the library, where he revealed he was searching for a treasure hidden in a bookmark within a book. Miu Kanza discovered it was the bookmark she had lost years ago. Ryou confessed he had taken it, hoping to meet her again but never did. In the next moment, he embraced her tightly, leading to a more profound connection. Before leaving, Ryou returned the bookmark to her and promised to visit frequently. Miu Kanza's days continued as usual, cooking and cleaning, but they were no longer dull. Ryou regularly sent her updates from Africa, always bringing a smile to her face. Feeling nauseous from the smell of stew, she visited a doctor who confirmed her pregnancy. Fearing her husband's reaction, Miu secretly contacted a company online to determine the father of the child. On the day she received the test results, two pieces of news deeply unsettled her. The child was not her husband's, and Ryou Fuyutsuki was listed as a casualty in an explosion in Africa.
Oh.
Deciding to keep Ryou's final gift, even if it meant becoming a villain, she went home and told her husband about her pregnancy. Her husband did not suspect anything, as they had not been intimate for years, except for that one drunken night. He vividly remembers being intimate with his wife, yet his face showed no sign of happiness. He continued to treat Miu Kanza with his usual cold indifference, a behavior she had grown accustomed to. Like always, she bought a bouquet of flowers and visited her hospitalized mother, fearing to reveal her pregnancy.
All right, real quick. That's crazy. That's tough. Like, yo, that's tough. Sheesh. Oh, this is in parts. I might just do part 1, and then I'm gonna do different parts of this, so it won't be too long. But one thing about the ladies and their children, they're gonna protect their children. Like, she was like, if I tell this man this is your baby, and he died, but we gotta take care of this kid, that man would have kicked her right to the street. He's already mean to her. She was like, I'm not telling him, which it's terrible, but I mean, hey, she's like, I'm taking care of my kid. That's how it goes, man. That's crazy though. I don't think he's dead though. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I don't know. We'll see later.
Her mother instantly noticed her daughter's distress, in stark contrast to her indifferent husband. Miu Kanza was grappling with a question. Could she maintain this lie for a lifetime, or should she confess to her husband? She found no answer to her dilemma. The next morning, her best friend brought over her child for Miu to look after. The child hid behind his mother, frightened by Miu. Uncharacteristically, her husband forced a smile and interacted with the child. Miu apologized at the door, worried her husband might disapprove of the early visit, but he seemed not to hear and did not respond. Her friend admired Miu for seeing her husband off every day, unaware of Miu's inner turmoil. As the friend was leaving and about to greet him, she noticed him painfully clutching his neck, wondering if he was ill. In reality, Miu did not truly understand her husband. To outsiders, he was a high-ranking corporate executive. To his boss, he was merely a workhorse, bearing the brunt of any uncompleted tasks. His subordinates saw him as a fool, tirelessly helping them meet deadlines. His mental state was severely depleted from constant stress, unnoticed by his wife but pointed out by a coffee shop owner. The owner remarked that some wounds don't hurt until they are seen, which triggers the brain to feel the pain acutely. Although this was part of the owner's spiel to attract customers, the husband shared his unspoken grievances with him. It turned out he had always deeply loved Miu Kanza since their first meeting. Miu Kanza saw him sweating profusely and considerately pulled out a handkerchief to wipe his sweat. Over the years, the handkerchief had turned yellow, but he still carried it with him. However, he was not adept at being a husband. Caught between his superiors and subordinates at work, he unwittingly took out his frustrations on Miu Kanza at home.
Aha, okay. It's all starting to come together. A lot of times relationships are complicated, but every good relationship, communication is key. I know a lot of people say that communication is key, but they never do it. This is the kind of stuff that you discuss with your wife. And let me say this. There's a way to do it. Now, I'm not saying because I'm a person that I won't complain, but I'm very honest. I'll let you know what's going on with me. If I seem stressed and you ask, are you stressed? What's going on? I'm like, work is kind of tough. Sometimes I feel like they don't respect me. Sometimes I feel like a workhorse, but I just keep going and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to talk to you about it. Now, I get why some guys say, don't tell the ladies your feelings. Don't cry to them because, they'll stop liking you, blah, blah, blah. Part of that comes from when you complain without a solution. So what I say is the best way to talk to your significant other about that kind of stuff is letting them know what's going on while keeping your emotions in check. You know what I'm saying? And while having a plan figured out. That's really the key. Is you have a plan. It's not just I don't know what to do. I'm so stressed and I'm going through this and blah, 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 and it'll never be the same. And I don't know what to do. No. The ladies always want to see you as a leader. So you could share your feelings. I feel my coworkers don't really like me. I don't know what it is, and it's a lot of work. The boss is putting a lot of work on my shoulders. So I'm a workhorse, you know what I'm saying? So if I've taken that out on you, I apologize. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just going to keep going forward. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to switch it up. Do that. That's the way to do it. That's the way to communicate. But like complaining and just, oh, that's what they don't like. So I see why, you know, I feel him, you know what I'm saying? But taking out your significant other is never the case. Don't be anybody's punching bag. You know what I'm saying? Don't make somebody else your punching bag. Nah, bruh.
Unbeknownst to him, Miu Kanza was preoccupied with Ryou Fuyutsuki, trying to find someone who could contact him. She looked at the bookmark they had recently found, recalling Ryou Fuyutsuki's promise to return to see her. During a prenatal checkup, the doctor told her that the baby was healthy, making Miu Kanza grateful as if the child was a gift left by Ryou Fuyutsuki. Her best friend, seeing her often downcast, mistakenly thought it was due to first-time pregnancy nerves and patiently shared how transitioning from a woman to a mother was a profound change, emphasizing how strong maternal love is and how any difficulty can be endured for the sake of a child. Deeply moved, Miu Kanza called her mother to thank her for raising her alone under difficult circumstances. Her mother, sensing something was wrong, assured her firmly that she would always be by her side no matter what happened. Consequently, Miu Kanza resolved to draft a divorce agreement and planned to raise her unborn child alone.
Whoa.
That evening, as her husband returned home and Miu Kanza was about to confront him, an urgent call forced her to rush to the hospital. After a tumultuous night, her mother's condition finally stabilized. In the morning, she asked her husband to go to work while she stayed to care for her mother. Upon waking, her mother continued the previous day's conversation, downplaying her solo efforts in raising her and mentioning their persistent poverty and hardships. The hospital then demanded payment for her mother's stay, which brought Miu Kanza back to reality. Realizing that raising a child alone was not feasible, back home, as she looked at the divorce papers and a paternity test report, her husband startled her, prompting her to hide them. He seriously pulled her aside to continue the previous night's unfinished conversation, which left the now uncertain Miu Kanza at a loss for words. When her husband asked if they needed to talk about the baby in her womb, and seeing Miu Kanza nod, he inquired if she wanted to keep the child. Recently, he noticed she didn't seem happy and thought it was because of him. He assumed she didn't want the child because it was forced upon her. Miu Kanza quickly clarified that she had no intention of terminating the pregnancy. Then, her husband expressed his thoughts. He was too busy to contribute any effort and hoped she wouldn't expect anything from him except money. He was indifferent whether she wanted to separate bedrooms or hire a nanny. His terms perfectly suited Miu Kanza. He would provide the money and she would handle everything else, especially since the child wasn't his. Later, Miu Kanza filled in her husband's...
Wait, so did he know, like, that the child wasn't his? Nah, I don't think so. 'Cause I think he would have crashed out. I think she was like, this is perfect because it's not your child. But this is what I'm saying. This man is, I don't like that. Don't be that guy. Where it's like, over here you're talking about, I love her. She was my first love. You know what I'm saying? I took her for granted, like, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm stressed at work and I take it out on her. You know what I'm saying? I need to do better. Then you get home and you're the same person? Like, what? Like, what? All right.
Name in the father section of the child's documents, then burned the paternity test and the divorce papers. After a painful labor, Miu Kanza's screams in the delivery room heralded the birth of a new life.
Oh.
The baby's cries marked its arrival.
The baby.
Miu Kanza didn't know whether Ryou Fuyutsuki was still alive at that moment. He and a colleague had been caught in an air raid. The colleague died, and the body was unrecognizable. The remaining identification belonged to Ryou Fuyutsuki, which made the news. However, the person who was rescued was his colleague, who only realized later that the mix-up involved Ryou Fuyutsuki. The man earns money to support the family while his wife stays home with the child. However, the child is from the wife's first love.
Okay, so this is part 2. I'm gonna cut it right here. And then, you know, we'll finish this up later, man. But that's crazy. All, you know what I'm saying? All the stuff that I mentioned before is crucial to look at, man. Yo, be honest. Like, if you like love her and you like, she's my first love, blah blah, then show it. Don't take out your problems on her. Don't make her your punching bag. That's crazy. Also, if you feel like you're gonna cheat, go ahead and start wrapping that thing up, man. Just be like, you know what? This ain't working. I'm probably not gonna blah blah blah. And a lot of times that'll either push the conversation forward where it's like, okay, we need to really talk, or they're gonna be like, okay, well, cool then. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, cheating is not the answer, man. You got to get out before you do that. What else I was gonna say? That was pretty much it. Communication's key. You know what I'm saying? I'll see y'all next time, man. For part 2. Peace.